Hello and welcome to the Halifax Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Jason Paul, licensed realtor in Halifax since 2017 and team lead of the Infinity Real Estate Group at eXp Realty of Canada Inc. This podcast was created to help you understand a little more about the Halifax and Nova Scotian real estate markets. If you like what you hear, I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Oh, yeah, I did forget about that. From the top.
Yeah.
From the top. Now that
Yeah.
we've caught up on our shenanigans this week in our lives about real estate and
Yeah.
the
Now that we've gotten a few things off of our chest before we press
the
record,
the trials and tribulations of this industry.
can we have just a quick moment here for my sick shirt? Like, look at these birds. I'm getting a lot of heat in the office for this shirt right now.
Everyone listens
But I think
to
it's
the
deadly.
audio. They're not gonna see your if they go to YouTube, they can see your fucking shirt.
Well, I have a sick shirt on that's got a bunch of birds on it, internet. And you want to take a look. It's my spring shirt. Look at all these birds.
I will link the video to the fucking anyway.
When I grew up, my grandmother had this clock in the living room and it had a bird for every hour. And so every time the hour would change, the bird would go off. And so when I seen this shirt, I had to have it because it looks like all the birds that were on the clock.
Yeah, that's a sick story.
Side note.
You should leave with that.
You don't want
Every
a bird
time you
clock.
meet someone, you leave with that story.
Yeah, this is my bird shirt.
Okay, what was that again? You're a first-time home buyer? What?
If you haven't owned a primary residence in 4 years, you're a first-time home buyer. Clock resets. So this was what blew your mind last week when we talked about it. So
Yeah, like that's
in
all.
order
I'm still even hearing it again. I'm like, that's still fucked.
yeah, so like just because you're not in your 20s doesn't mean you're not a first-time home buyer.
No,
Right?
that
Like,
I know. If you haven't
you know
bought
what
a
I mean?
house, you're a first-time home buyer. You
But
haven't
yeah,
bought
so
a
like
house.
let's say you sold your house and you haven't owned a house in the last calendar year as your primary residence. Like you can own a secondary house that's like a rental, but like the one that you actually 2 feet in a heartbeat live in, if you haven't owned it in like the last 4 years, the clock has reset and you're now considered a first-time home buyer again. Right? So
That's
So
so weird.
well,
If
if you sell your
someone
house and you're renting for 4 years and you want to jump back into the housing market, guess what? You're a first-time home buyer again. So it opens up the opportunity to use these other vehicles for savings for down payment that we were talking about, like your RSP and the first-time savings.
Okay, all right, hold on. So
Confused you.
I I just don't like, I understand everything you said, but I just don't, like so I bought a house, I lived in it for 30 years, I decided to sell because 'cause I'm cashing out, I go into rental, I realize I don't like the rental, I'm 2 years into this rental, I could take my money that I've made off my home sale and put that into a first-time home savings account, and for 2 years, put in max $8,000 a year, so 16 grand, and I could slowly chip away with the tax benefits of the RRSP program from the tax first time home savings account. And then I could use that, take it out tax free, and go buy myself a new house with the benefits of the first time home savings account.
Yes. So the first home savings account,
Give me the logic behind this.
well, so the first home savings account, so there's two different vehicles we're talking about here, right? We're talking the first home savings account, which is like it's essentially as a tax-free savings account. And if an RSP fell in love and had a baby and they made this account, this is their offspring. Okay.
This is
So
the
you
account.
get, this is the account. So this is basically, you get the tax benefits as if it was an RSP. So what I mean by that is when you have an RSP and you contribute to it, at the end of the year, a taxable year, you're going to get a statement that says how much you've contributed to your RSP. That then can be applied to what you made that year in income and lower your taxable income. So if you put $5,000 into an RSP that year, you can in theory lower your taxable income by $5,000 because that's sitting in that fund untouched, right? With the first home savings account, you get that opportunity. But also when you pull the money out to use it for your down payment or whatever, your closing costs, you don't get hit with the tax hit. So with an RSP, you take the money out and you got to pay 30% on it, right? When you draw money out of it. Uh, when you use the RSP as a first home, as like a down payment vehicle, so like the home buying plan RSP, you've got, say, 60 grand in there and you want to pull it all out to use for your down payment. Absolutely, you can. You're not going to get hit with the 30% because you have to just put the money back in 15 years. Yeah. So every year at tax time, you're going to get a statement that says, hey, you owe $1,000 to your RSP plan because you took X amount out, and calculate over the 15 years. That's how much money you have to put back in to get back to, even. The only thing is you lose the opportunity for that to generate more income, right? Because it's a savings vehicle, an RSP is, right? So if you're in a group plan, the money's in there sloshing around and gaining interest. When you pull it out for down payment, it's obviously not in there anymore to be able to do that. So there is a bit of a downside there. However, it's your money. You can use it for your down payment. The first home savings account, you don't get taxed on you with pulling money out. Right. So it's the tax-free benefit of it where it's like, okay, I've put it in, like you said, $8,000 a year you can put into this account. At the end of the year, what you've contributed, if it's 8 grand, cool, that 8 grand lowers your taxable income. But also when you want to go use the money, you're not going to get hit with a tax bill. You're just going to take the money out and it's yours. Right. You don't have to pay it back or anything. Right. With the first home savings, with the first home buyer plan, with the RSP for the home buyer plan, you have to pay the money back. With the first home savings account, you don't. You can contribute the money in, get the benefit of the tax rebate at the end of the year to your income. And also when you pull the money out, that's it. You pull the money out. Like you don't have to pay it back. To your question about like when you get up there in age. So this first home savings account can stay open for like 15 years, right? So let's
Really?
say you start it when you're 20.
Right.
You've got basically until you're 35 to use that money for a house. Let's say you get into the upper ages, right? And you're in your 40s or in your 50s, right? Or say you're 50, 50 years old,
Yeah.
and you haven't owned a house for a few years, 4, 5, 10, whatever. And you start putting money into this account, you can use the account again.
Can
Um,
can you
up
okay,
until
let's just
71, up until 71. 71 is when they're just like, okay, yeah, you're too old. 71 is their co-op. They're like, yeah, until the end of the year, you turn 71. And then they're just like,
the banks were
you know,
cool, but they were like, they're not gonna be able to pay off that full term. That full
well, I'm
amortization
assuming
not pay that
I'm
they'll
assuming that, yeah, exactly. I'm assuming they're looking at 71 and a 25-year amortization and doing the math and being
yeah, and
like,
they're like, "No chance. No chance."
96.
Um, okay, in that regard, just out of quick curiosity, if I sold a house when I'm 50, just say for this example, and I could I open an account right away and just wait the 4 years?
Yeah,
Or do I have to wait the 4 years before I can open the account?
no, you can open the account.
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
unless there's like a bank policy that says you can't open the account. But if your intention is to not own a home for the next number of years and you want to use this as a savings vehicle, I can't foresee them saying no, right?
That
It's
that's
just you
hilarious.
can't,
Okay.
when you go to do, yeah, like when you go to use the money, it's like it's meant for first home buyers, right?
Right.
So like you would have to clear the hurdle of having not owned the home for the 4 years to be able to draw on the
Yeah,
funds.
wait 4 years, but you're just putting the profits away. Like, if you
Yeah,
sold your house for a lot of money, buying an apartment, just squirrel the profits away into something, into something, into something. Now, why would
yeah.
you
And like
do
you could
that?
squirrel the profits away into
Oh, no.
your
Can you hear
RSP.
me? Oh,
It's
no.
just,
Yeah,
I lost you there for a second.
I know, I lost you too. It's okay, we're back now. So let's just say you sold your house, made all this profit. You could just chill. You don't find the right house, but you find an apartment you can live in. You just squirrel the money away into this first time home savings account, and you're not gonna be it's tax deductible off of your yearly income, and you don't pay tax when you take it out to buy a house. That is if you were doing that, like, that's such a niche person to, like, use that strategy, but that's still, like, like now, hold on, the part that really blew my mind, which is what inspired this whole episode, we were at the home show, and, we were doing the Kentville Home Show, I think we were at, and,
Hmm.
I heard you say to a client, or not a client, a person that wanted to buy a house, and you said the real trick is to package these things together. And this is when I kind of like turned my ear being like, what is he talking about? You could mix the Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program, which is, I've said it so much, 5 year, no, 10-year, 0% interest free loan to cover the 5% down payment of your home. There's some things you have to qualify for in there, but it's pretty easy. You could pair your Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program with the first time home savings account to cover basically your closing costs, which you put the
That's
money
what it would
away
be.
into this first time home
Yeah,
savings
100%.
account. Yeah, you pay for your closing costs. So you put this money away, it's tax deductible, and when you take it out to buy a house, there's no taxes on it. So, untaxed money to get your
Because
closing
the whole
costs at 2.5%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the whole idea with the down payment assistance program is you're going to have to sign an attestation that says you do not have the available funds for down payment. Like that's the whole idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's to
Yeah.
support those that don't have the available funds. However, the biggest cost I find in a home purchase, or one of the larger costs in a home purchase that nobody thinks about, is the closing costs.
No one knows about
So
closing.
it's like nobody
Everyone
either
kind of knows
knows, or
down
it's
payment.
a surprise. They've heard about it like it's a rumor, or like but no, closing costs are very real. So at like 2 to 2.5% of the purchase price is being a target number for your closing costs. Um,
Well,
if you're
I
going to the down payment assistance program, it's great they're going to give you the down payment, but you still have to have the closing costs. So if you use the first home savings account as a vehicle to save for those closing costs, and think at $8,000 a year, 2.5%, that's 8 grand gets you pretty far with closing costs, right?
well, I'm just doing the math now. And if you're to do $500,000 purchase, and let's go 0.025 to cover all closing costs because something might come up. You're at 12,500. So you need $12,500, and the rest can be covered in a Nova Scotia down payment assistance program.
Yeah.
That is like if you were to try and do that regularly. So we just quantified it 12,500, but if you do 500,000, it's fucking 25,000, Jason, 5% down. So you would need 37,000 or $38,000. No, $37,500 is what you would need to save. Basically 3 times the money. Like, that's what you would need, right? Like, if you were thinking about buying a house, right?
Mhm.
You need to you use this strategy of Nova Scotia down payment assistance program gets me my 5% down payment. I'm gonna use the first time home savings account to get my 2%, 2.5% closing costs, so I need 12,500. Or I could just squirrel away in my savings account, regular savings account. I don't get the tax
Yeah,
benefits, and I need to
exactly.
save $37,500 to cover all my bases. Really, honestly, probably 38 grand because you're gonna want to cover all your home inspections too. So you need to save 38 grand for your home inspections, your down payment, your closing costs. Or you could just get 12,500 to cover your closing costs and go Nova Scotia down payment
Save the
assistance
closing
program.
costs and go for the yeah.
Yeah.
Now you have to
When
realize,
you
and it's not free money from the government. You do have to pay the money back. Like the down payment, not money you get from the government.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
do
yeah,
pay
yeah.
it back,
Yeah.
but it's 0% loan every month, or it's 0% loan for like 10 years. So like again, every month you'll pay
Something.
100 or whatever the balance is, right? If it's lower, it could be like $100 a month. It might be like 150, whatever. But you pay that back every month.
Yes. Thank you for highlighting that point because I made that sound like free money. No, 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 no. They're just giving you a
Yeah,
no
yeah,
interest
yeah. You
rate.
got to pay it back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please, please pay back your debts.
Yeah.
But it's still like if you like, let's say if you want to make the home goal of owning a house by we're recording May 15th, right? So if you want to say like I want to buy my first house by end of December 2027, you're allowed $8,000 max contributions for the year, so you can max out that home savings account for your down pay for your closing costs to 8 grand this year, and then you can top it up to the 12, the 10 or 12 that you need, that you feel you need, and then you can go buy a house. Which is it's just a really fascinating tool because like I'd never heard anyone be like,
Here's
pair
the
these
thought.
together. And when you said it, I like, yeah,
Yeah, like I'd like it's an incredibly powerful tool. I would say if you're planning on saving for a house, focus on the first home savings account first. Juice that as much as you can, right? If you have RSP money, if you have like a group RSP or anything like that, that's great to have that in the wings, right? Because that's a substantial amount of money. But if you have the capacity and to do it early to start taking advantage of the first home savings account, it's almost like you get to have your cake and eat it too. Because now, believe me,
Yeah.
I'm not ignorant to the fact that not a lot of people have a tremendous amount of disposable income. So even for like the tax-free savings accounts, I've always been a little saucy about them because I'm just like, they're like, oh, well, you could put $6,000 up a year. I'm like, okay, cool. If I could wiggle my nose and find an extra $6,000 a year, I'd probably not be as, stressed out as I am, right? In the context of trying to save, right? So
Yes.
I get that like not everybody can be like, oh, well, the annual contribution is 8 grand. So obviously I'm just going to take the spare $8,000 I have sitting all over the place and put it in the account. However, if you start doing that early and at the same time your RSP stuff is building up, if you can't get it done with the first home savings account, you obviously have the fallback of your RSP. The only downside of the RSP is the fact that when you pull the money out, you have to pay that back. And also, you lose the potential revenue you would have been generating that as a savings vehicle because now you've just drawn the account down, right, to whatever it was, right? So, there's a balance there, but it's again, it's another opportunity to use it. I think the first home savings account is slick as shit. I will precursor this though. How they set your first home savings account up matters because
Okay.
essentially what they're doing is they're putting you into a GIC, right? So it's just a vehicle of savings at the bank, right? But there's cashable GICs and there's non-cashable GICs. So to your point about the 2027 goal, if you're going to use this as a vehicle to save and you're going to be buying in the next finite amount of time, make sure it's a cashable GIC that they're putting the money in. Because some of them they put into them as non-cashable GICs, which essentially are locked for a finite amount of time. Some of them might be locked for like 4 years, right? Because that's how they figure out the rate of return on that investment product. And so at a
Okay.
locked 4-year GIC, you may get X amount more return as
Right.
opposed to one that
Right.
you can pull out at any time, right? So I have
Right.
absolutely had it where clients come to me and they're like, oh, I've got my first home savings account. And I'm like, fantastic. Can you send me that document? And when I look at it, it's non-cashable. You can't get the money out until it allows you to.
How pissed off are the clients? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty sad. And some of them knew what they were doing that. Some of them were
Yeah.
like, okay, I went into this 4-year locked GIC because I knew the rate of return was going to be like 6%. Whereas if I went into a non-cashable or went into a cashable, maybe the rate of return was like 3 or 4. And I'm literally just pulling those numbers out of thin air as examples, but that's effectively what it would be like. You know what I mean? So some of them knew, like they've come to me and they're just like, yeah, Matt, I know mine's in locked and I can't touch it until June. Okay, cool. So we're going to make a plan for June. Right.
Right.
But those
Okay.
that find out when I look at the document and didn't realize, they'll be like, oh shit, man. Like the guy at the bank said something to me when we first put this thing together, but I didn't know what he was talking about. And I just said, yeah, let it go and set it up. And they
Let it
just didn't
rock.
realize. Just let it
Right.
ride, right? And so they just didn't realize. But yeah, so it's a nifty little tool. But you also have to make sure that it's set up properly. Because if you're going to buy quickly, you need to make sure it's accessible.
Right. Okay. I mean, are there any other programs out there that I don't know about that are really, like, that you can kinda, like I know them, but, like, can you kind of any other avenues or tools you use for down payments to help people or closing costs? Because that's always a hurdle. It's always those 2 that stop you from buying houses.
At that point, you're really getting into like bank specific ones, right? Because some banks will do, you know, 0% down. It exists, okay, at like a credit union level, really. But what they're doing again, it's not really truly zero
Credit
percent
union
down.
also offers 2% down if you didn't know.
Yeah, no, and they have these types of programs, but it's a little nuanced, right? So, like, really, it's not truly 0% down. What they're doing is basically setting you up with a line of credit in advance, and that's where the
Yeah.
down payment's going to come from. So, it's kind of like the down payment assistance program where they're like, we're going to give you some of the money that you would need, but also you're going to pay that back, right?
Yeah, what's the
So,
interest rate?
well, it would be at a most likely if it was like a line of credit, it'd be a line of credit interest rate, which could be 5,
Yeah, so
6, 7,
0%
whatever,
down, no
right?
Scotia down payment, 10%, 12%, 13%. Anyway, we've shit on credit union enough on this podcast. I don't need to.
There's also like cashback offers. Like some lenders will give you 3 grand cash back, right? So it
Right.
helps a little bit with the closing
So
costs. Like you need to have the money up
right.
front, but you do get, reimbursed.
Yeah, so there's not really like because that was when you said that to me, I remember just my mind was rocked and I was like, "What are we talking about here?" Like, you can pair these like, so that's kinda like you're like first time home buyer trying to get in the housing market, like, that's kinda like your like that's your juice. If you want a tool that you can, like, maximize for yourself to make savings that get you ahead in housing and saving up for your housing, it's first time home savings account paired with Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program that can really get you into housing. As probably, like, besides a gifted down payment and gifted closing costs, like, it's probably your quickest avenue if you have to squirrel that money away every month to do this.
It gets you there. It lowers the entry point and puts less focus on like trying to save for the down payment, and you're just saving for closing costs at that point,
Yeah,
right? And so like
and
back to my
it
comment before, not everybody's sitting on a bunch of excess cash every month to be dumping into these programs. However, let's say you're in your early 20s and you're starting to set up one of these first home savings accounts, because it is a tax deductible vehicle. So whatever you put into it that year, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, or $8,000, that's going to lower your taxable income. Well, if you're in that sweet spot of the tax bracket, where by doing that, it drops you to the next tax bracket and you get a big fat refund back, guess what? There's now money that you can either put into the account for the next year or put into your RSP or whatever. But it then opens you up to be able to say, okay, now I've got a windfall of money. What do I want to do with this? Do I want to strategically put it towards my house or whatever the case may be? But it gives you a bit more flexibility in those early years where your tax bracket is changing, right? Because your first job you have when you come into university, could be a salaried position, but it may not be a massive salary, right? And so then all of a sudden, because like I can remember working in Alberta and like, man, we'd make a game of it at work, talking about how much we're over contributing to our RSPs because we knew and we were making stupid money, right? Because, you're working in the oil sands, but you're still walking away with tax refunds of like in the thousands and thousands of dollars because you've lowered your taxable income because of all that extra contribution to your RSP. So like, then all of a sudden you're like, cool, what do I do with this now? I had buddies that would just go to the casino or Vegas, but if you want to be
hey
strategic
now,
with it, listen, no issues with casinos or Vegas.
ask ask FedEx about casino strategy. Have you heard that story? You don't know? Oh, the owner of
No, no.
FedEx, this is we're gonna get back to the podcast in a second. The owner of FedEx, I think it's took was like the company was down to its last like 5 grand and then they needed like 32. He went to Vegas and made it in at blackjack, I think, and then
Yeah, I
paid the
got a
bills and he
client that does that now with Baccarat or something at the casino.
anyway, okay. We're not giving gambling advice here. We're not that pod.
Yeah, sorry.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no.
Unsolicited gaming advice.
Um, so how many first time home buyers have you worked with that have used that program for maximum benefit?
A lot.
Okay.
It is a lot. Like I would say, frig, probably at least 75 to 80% of the ones that I've dealt with in the
Okay.
last
I
2
I
years are
wanna
using this
I w
program.
I wanna be clear, right? I'm talking about first time home savings account mixed with down payment assistance program. Or are they just using first time home savings account to get what they need for down payment and closing costs?
I would say most of them, put it this way, 75 to 80% of the first time home buyers that I'm engaging with now have the first home savings account,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
So they're using it,
Yeah.
they have it. I would say those that have targeted the down payment assistance program, again, I'd say a good 2/3 of those are using the first home savings account as their vehicle for closing costs. I had quite a number of them last year,
Wow!
actually. Yeah, it was slick, right? Because it makes everything super easy to qualify because it's easily traced, right? And then all of a sudden and this is where the money sit, right? And so, yeah, 100%. Like a lot are
Are they coming
using
up
it.
with this idea on their own, or are you proposing when they meet you? I'm curious how this like, are they coming to you being like, "Hey, man, I got this first time home savings account. I'm gonna pair it with this program. We're gonna rock and roll." Or are you like, "Hey, man, I like where you're going, what you're thinking. Let me just try and put some juice to squeeze the juice out of his lemon."
Kind of both. Like, it's not often they come to me and
Yeah.
say, "Okay, this is my strategy." However, when we get into the conversation about what are we doing for down payment and closing costs, and it says, "Okay, well, I've got X amount of dollars and we want to buy this house." If then all of a sudden the conversation turns to, okay, we've maxed out what we have for savings, then we're like, okay, are you interested in the down payment assistance program? Right. Or they'll come to me in advance and be like, this is the program we want to target. And then of course, then my question is, okay, awesome. What are we doing for closing costs? And then they're like, well, I have a first home savings account. Can I use that? You have fucking rates again. Right. So it's kind of like just naturally through the progression of like just vetting the file that we'll kind of develop that strategy if it's needed. But again, it's like, well, you've seen it, man. When we're at these home shows and we're talking to people, and one of the trivia questions is literally, "Do you know about this program?" I can count on one hand how many people have gotten that question right in the last 3 home shows, and to me, it's baffling. It's baffling. Like, I did. Yeah, like I don't understand why a letter's not sent out to every house in the province telling people about this thing or apartments or whatever. Like it is a really, really good program. Um, and yeah,
The
it's
thing
like I said,
the thing is, the Nova Scotia down payment assistance like, we bang on about it so much because it's underutilized. Like, everyone should use this. And the other thing, like, the other argument you could make is, let's say someone saved the down payment, right? And I would make the argument of, like, if you want something else with that, if you wanna use that down payment for something else, and you can still use the Nova Scotia down payment assistance program, like, why wouldn't you do both? Like, why wouldn't you use that? If you have debts that you can take care of with this a lot of money, maybe take care of the debts and then take out the Nova Scotia down payment assistance program to help you get into a house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to do it that I look at, like, as long as you know about the program, though, you can utilize it how you want within the rules of the program that the program allows. Just not enough people know about it or understand the nuance of it and how to best apply it to their situation.
yeah, I think, often people will come to us, especially commercially, and it's like, why use my money when I can use somebody else's?
Every time.
Right? And so, really, that's the nature of this program. You can leverage the government's willingness to give you the 5%. They're not on title, right? Like, they don't own a portion of your house, So it's like, you've got the money, you have to pay them back. Yes, 10 years, 0%. But that leaves you the financial, we'll call it latitude to then, let's say you have a large savings account or RSP or something like that, maybe then you use that for your renovations, right? The unfortunate thing is when you go to pull the money out, yeah, you're going to get taxed at the 33%. Um, I would just caution folks that, you will sign an attestation when you do this program that says, I do not have the money. Okay. Now it's like Scout's honor, like, um, so, you can't go have a massive account of savings and then be like, I want to use the down payment assistance
You
program. It's
imagine hold on,
like,
you imagine just going to get, like, a Home Depot gift card at, like,
I have
30
had
grand?
clients, I have had clients that had 6 figures saved for down payment and were like, I want to use the down payment assistance program. And I'm like, even this makes me a little nervous because you have a tremendous amount of savings and like it is meant for those that do not have savings, right?
That's what it's meant for, yeah.
So
And they've used it?
no, we didn't target it. No, no.
Oh.
Yeah, there's certain times where you're just like, man, if you're comfortable signing that attestation, but if they find out and the jig is
Listen,
up, right? Like,
we're not recommending fraud. That's not what we're
well, that's
doing.
just it. Like and it's the fraud is what would wreck the program too.
What I
Right.
was saying is, like, hey, if you've got the money saved, and let's say you got a large student loan bill, or you have other debts that you can service because the government is giving you free money, right? Like, maybe you can use that money that you have saved to go tackle your car loans or your other debts, which will help your purchasing power in being able to get a better house. And then you can use the Nova Scotia down payment. So, like, I was just saying of ways
Just
to, like, apply that
100%.
money.
And And on
Not
that same
not
line of
go buy a fucking hot tub and then
no, no, no.
buy a
And so
house.
here's the other trick, I should say trick or thing to be aware of. The first home savings account is meant for home purchases and the costs associated.
Right.
If you
Yep.
use the down payment assistance program, say you've got a
That's down
tremendous
payment.
that's your down payment. And let's say the two and a half costs you the 12 grand, but you've got 30 in your first home savings account. You've been saving for a few years now. When you're done taking the 12 grand out, you now have a remainder left in that first home savings account and you've bought the home. What the bank's going to do then is the tax-free portion of whatever's left may start to change. And they may want you to take those remaining funds and put them into another type of savings vehicle, right?
Right, because you bought a
Like
house.
you can't just like again use it and then be like, "Hey, I'm pulling the money out to buy kit like stuff at IKEA or the hot tub," right? Like once you've used it, once it's been earmarked for that purchase, if you no longer have the purchases needed and the money's still in there, the bank may say, "Okay, well, you're not going to get the tax benefit or the tax-free benefit when you withdraw it." They may charge you a tax on it, or they may say you have to put this into a different type of savings vehicle. Right. So just keep that in mind. There is guardrails around the program where it's not just like a
Yeah, of
slush
course.
fund of
Well,
savings
they
money,
don't want you
you know?
they don't want like, let's be very clear, we're talking about I don't manipulating is the wrong word, we're talking about using every lane and avenue you can use in these programs to get yourself ahead in a quicker, more timely fashion or help you accomplish your goals. If you use
Yeah, my big
these
thing is to
programs
is illum go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, like the whole point of this is educate you about your options so that you can maybe use some of these things to help benefit you and your goals. If you choose to manipulate them or use them, in your own creative ways to your own creative advantages, that's on you. We would just advise, the Nova Scotia down payment program is designed for people that do not have the down payment. So the reason we started out with this topic and on this podcast, you only need closing costs with the first time home savings account and then you can use Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program, so you don't have to save all that money away to get into a house.
Yeah,
If you have that money saved and you don't want to use it, because hey, you have a lost student debt, like you could use the money saved to pay off the student debt or the car loan, and then use whatever's left in the home savings account to cover your closing costs to then use the Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program to buy a house. I would not begrudge anyone of doing those things, but just understanding what these products are designed for and you have to adhere to the rules of what they are designed for.
and
Long-winded
it's
speech of us not sounding like assholes on the internet.
no, no, no. Listen, we sound like assholes enough on the internet, but my big thing is when it comes to these programs, it's illuminating the blind spot too, right? Because I've noticed because it is a newer program. It's only been the last couple of years. Um, Folks just don't know the guardrails to the program. So a lot of the time the question is, okay, what if I don't use all the money in the account? Then what happens? Or, what if I over contribute to it? Or, so those are the things where like, yes, now it could be a little bank specific, but by and large, like I like to let folks know that because again, the big thing, the non-cashable and the cashable GIC, that has been one where I've seen it bite some people in the butt because they just didn't know. Right. So having it's one thing, setting it up the right way is another. And then just knowing what happens when, you're done using it, right? And what's left.
Right. Right. And that but like any tool, if you have a hammer, you can build a house. You can also break your thumb. It's a
Yeah,
tool.
yeah, yeah. Because at the end of the day, too, like you got to think these are programs that are being supplied by the government. And while I'm sure everybody has a warm and fuzzy feeling about the government, their big thing too is like, with an RSP, they know that they're going to get their 33% when you draw on it. With the first home
Right.
savings
Yeah.
account, they know you're not. However, once you've no longer need it for that purpose, then all of a sudden their mind switches back to, but what about my
Yeah.
tax? Right? But what about my
Right.
part?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
when all of a sudden it has to go to a different vehicle, right? Or they may change how it's set up. But again, they're great. The two of them are stellar, right? Like the first home savings account. Again, if you're out there, you're listening, and you're looking to buy a house and get your proverbial shit in order, I'd set one of those up right away, start using it, right? And then have your
Yeah,
RSP or whatever group plan you have as a fallback option, because that's another good source, right? But at the very least, while that's sitting, it's still accumulating money and it's still in an investment income where the first home savings account, you're getting the benefit of the tax deduction, you're getting the benefit of the withdrawal side of things. And meanwhile, your RSP is sitting pretty over there, just accumulating at whatever rate annually it does, right?
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that would be. I gotta be honest. I didn't know about this until you brought it up at the home show, and like overhearing that, I was like, "What is he fucking? What is this? This sounds. I didn't know this." So it's also good for me, because like it's just a little more education. It's just a little more knowledge, a little more ways of being like helping someone accomplish their goals.
And
Um, I
and
gotta be.
you nailed it, and the timeline of the goal too, right? Like if somebody wants to buy the house and they've been saving up for the down payment and they put money in the first home savings account, but they finally find that place and they're like, you know what, our situation's changed and we got to move now. We don't have the ability to wait another year. Well, then all of a sudden the conversation changes. It's like, okay, if you got to leave now, okay, well let's target the down payment assistance program because that's going to get you to the down payment. You've got enough in your first home savings account to cover the closing costs. Let's do it. Like we can pull the time frame up and get you into what you need to get into now, as opposed to waiting another year, right? To have everything in line because life happens, shit happens, and you just, you may have to move quicker than you
Yeah, the
anticipate.
the other thing is flexibility. Right, the
Yeah,
other thing
exactly.
is being able to be like, "Okay," like, as per you say, like, some situations come up, "I love this house." That perfect house may come up, "I wanna move today." Like, "Oh, we have flexibility in these programs to be able to make some maneuvers, we can pull some levers, we know some ins and out of these things that can help you accomplish these things faster, or we can just put you on the right track so you can get there a little quicker." Because
Yeah,
most people, when they decide they wanna buy a house, they wanna buy a house today, but they don't have the money. And most people
exactly.
wanna buy a house, but they don't have the money. This just helps you put away the money in a quicker fashion than trying to save up 37 grand as per the example earlier in the podcast. Like, it just helps you get in there quicker.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, well, I gotta be honest, that's it. This wasn't supposed to be a long one today. It was supposed to be a quick little teaser.
The long ones are when we're
So
always
thank you
flipping
for
about something. So short one's nice.
yeah, not we did that off air,
Yeah,
and
that's
we're not
right.
gonna
We got the
repeat it
flipping
again.
out. Yeah, no. I got a couple
All right,
emails to
sir.
respond to now.
Okay. Thank you. Stay on the line so I can upload. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again.